Most of the information in this video is relevant to bigger projects with complex financial requirements, income streams after installation, maintenance and fuel contract issues and so on. This could be something like a large district heating system, wind turbine, hydro plant or a solar project involving multiple installations or bulk buy arrangements. You'll need to establish yourselves as a legally constituted group to achieve a project on this scale, more information on which is available in another video in this resource. For smaller projects like a single solar array or heat pump for a community centre, you probably won't need all of this, and nor will you need to set up a legal structure. It's more likely you can just work through whatever structure the community centre already has, but it's still worth thinking through the arrangements systematically, meeting regularly and ensuring that you keep the relevant people in the know through email updates. For larger projects though, effective project management will be essential.
Managing a community project is a collective endeavour, and most people will be giving up their spare time to pursue it. This doesn't mean that they shouldn't be professional about it. One of the worst things you can do is to get involved and promise the earth when you simply don't have the time to devote to it. The whole group needs to be realistic about two things in particular. First, their time. No one should promise time they haven't got, and no one should feel under pressure to do more. Stress levels will rise and resentment can bubble. Be realistic with your family about the time commitments. Getting a hydro project off the ground, for example, could require that you attend evening meetings and events and do paperwork in your spare time on and off for 3 years or more. Secondly, strengths and weaknesses. A large renewable energy project is likely to need a group who, between them, can summon up dazzling communication skills, saintly patience, and the organisational skills of a military planner. All of this won't be found in one person alone.
The person who has the bright idea of getting a project off the ground is not necessarily the best person to be media spokesperson for the project. Don't be possessive of the idea just because you came up with it. In the same vein, if you're the sort of person who finds bureaucracy frustrating, then you probably shouldn't be the one who deals with the planning department at the council.
Thinking through all of this from the outset means that you'll probably need to consider what skills you have and also what influence you have in your community. So it's useful to carry out a sort of skills and influence audit. This will help you work out if you need to try to get others involved to strengthen your abilities. This will not only help you be more realistic about what you can do as a group, but it will also help you clearly identify the gaps that you need to fill. So, start by thinking about your skills. What do you each excel at? Who has written a business plan, knowledge of renewable energy, an understanding of the planning system, fundraising experience, bookkeeping and accounting experience, a background in project finance, experience of dealing with the media, skill at running events and giving presentations, the patience to organise and accurately record meetings, the skills to facilitate public debates, experience of door-to-door or face-to-face communication, web design skills. Obviously, some of the work you might do on a major renewable energy project will need the services of a paid consultant, but managing any of it yourselves will help you cut costs. You should list everything that everyone in the group thinks they have as a skill, and then highlight those that you definitely need. This should then get you thinking about what you can't do. The early stages of your public consultation work will be very useful for asking interested people to come forward and volunteer. If you realise early on that you lack skills in, say, managing the media, you can ask for them specifically at your events.
Because you'll need to do considerable community consultation, your networks of influence are also important. So a similar assessment should be carried out. Are any of you linked with other interest groups, bowls, pub quiz, tennis club, gardening club and so on? Are any of you elected members or parish councillors, or do you have good relationships with any? Do any of you teach in the local school, own the pub, run the shop, work in the GP surgery? All of these things might open up avenues to speak to people informally about your plans and to gauge public interest or antipathy before you go public.
Time spent discussing is useful, but if your meetings are unstructured and not minuted, then no actions will be signed and progress will be slow. Therefore, you need to have an agenda and to stick to it, or discussions can quickly wander. Whatever you discuss on the agenda, get into the habit of not moving on to another topic until it has been agreed what action needs to be taken next, by when and by whom. Try to get into the habit of always having your diary or access to an online calendar with you. If extra meeting dates need to be set, it should be done there and then, wherever possible.
Once you've been assigned some actions from a meeting, it can be easy to be put off by seemingly huge tasks. Projects often stumble due to procrastination, and procrastination is often a response to an overwhelmingly large task. Remember that all tasks, however large, are made up of simpler, smaller actions. Without a series of simple, small actions, nothing would ever get done. Getting planning permission for a turbine is not an action, it's a project in itself. Getting on the council website and finding the number of the planning department is an action. Phoning the planning department is another action. Arranging to meet the planner on site is an action. Reporting back to the group what the planner said is also an action. Looked at this way, everything is achievable and nothing really needs to be put off, since nothing is overwhelming in itself. It's a comforting and sensible way to view progress and gives you a list to tick things off on, which always feels good.
A regular meeting schedule is essential. In the initial stages, this may be as little as every 4 to 6 weeks and will probably involve the whole group. But as the project progresses, you'll most likely need to establish some subgroups. This will help to ensure that different tasks are being progressed simultaneously. Having subgroup meetings in the interim period, with individuals from each group attending the main meetings, will help to maintain an overview of what other subgroups have achieved. The makeup of your subgroups might vary, but consider including the following groups.
This group will need to look at a range of methods for raising finances for the early stages of your project, the risk finance. They will also help to negotiate the ongoing finances for the project once it gets planning permission, this being the project finance. This may mean getting involved in fundraising, share issues and bank negotiations, so finding volunteers locally with experience in any of these things would be really helpful to you. To raise any sort of capital, you'll need to write a business plan. In the early stages, this doesn't need to be too detailed, but you will need it for applying for funding. You don't need to do this from scratch on your own. There are a range of organisations who can help you with model documents you can use. Some of them will have development workers who you can make an appointment with or email documents to for them to check over. Business Link is a government-funded organisation that operates nationally and has a series of regional offices that can support you. Cooperatives UK works in partnership with a range of other organisations who can support people wishing to set up a cooperative or another social enterprise. The network covers most of England and Wales and can be accessed here.
Raising money and managing money are not the same thing. Although there may be some crossover, it's likely that you will need a separate group or at least an individual treasurer to keep on top of the day-to-day financial issues that any community group needs to deal with. You will also need to manage and report on the long-term accumulation of funds through fundraising. Split the tasks up, meet regularly as subgroups and update the whole group on progress.
These might be the individuals who would deal with consultants, installers and other experts. You would probably also want to include planning in this group as well.
A large-scale renewables project will attract lots of attention. Not only will there need to be a robust plan for public consultation, but you'll most likely want to speak to the media at regular intervals. Once your project gets planning permission, you'll need to be prepared for lots of other community groups beating a path to your door to find out how you did it. This is a big task and needs a dedicated team and a robust plan. If you are doing this in your spare time, you can't afford to be answering the phone all the time. Web pages can be very useful, as long as you update them, and they prevent you having to answer the same questions over and over again. Be clear why you are using a web page to communicate. as it can seem quite aloof if you don't provide any other kind of contact details. A web page can also contain a contact form so that people can email you. You can then manage expectations by making it clear that you will answer all inquiries within a certain time period. Within this group, you may also want to appoint a main spokesperson for the project. Again, be honest with yourselves about who this should be. Many projects have been undone by the poor communication skills of the original founder, who struggles to let go. It's also worth keeping people in the group on board by creating a set of key messages, which allows everyone to sing from the same hymn sheet.
There are lots of web-based project management systems available, and we have provided a list of some free and easy-to-use systems that you could make use of. Most of them allow you to store files, track to-do lists, and provide a central place for forum messaging. This can be a much more organised way of managing documents and tasks than emailing a large group. Group email is loaded with potential for error. It can result in multiple versions of the same document in circulation. It can break down if someone forgets to include all recipients on an email, and it can overload personal email boxes with large attachments. Using a centralised project management system means that everyone can keep track of what everyone else is doing, and it provides an organised way to centrally store and record the work of subgroups.
It's easy to be so caught up in planning the project that you don't plan beyond the day of installation. Veterans of successful community renewables projects have been quoted as saying that they hadn't planned for actually managing the installation once it was established. This can have implications for costs and responsibilities. Among other things, you may need to plan for recruiting or contracting maintenance staff and understanding the health and safety implications of owning and running an electricity generating installation.
Once it becomes more clear whether your project is likely to be successful, you might therefore want to establish another subgroup to plan for this operational phase. Good luck.